This is BBC News, the latest headlines. Thailand's Supreme Court has postponed its verdict in the trial of the former Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra after she failed to appear in court. The judges in Bangkok issued a warrant for her arrest, saying they didn't believe her claim she was ill. America's Gulf Coast is preparing for the onslaught of Hurricane Harvey. It's expected to hit the coast of Louisiana and Texas later on Friday, with winds of up to 140 kilometres an hour. Small convoys of driverless lorries will be tried out on major British roads next year. It's part of a government plan to cut emissions and reduce congestion. Motoring organisations have raised concerns over safety. A woman in Massachusetts has won the biggest single-ticket prize in US lottery history. The cheque is for more than $750 million. She says she's already handed in her notice of work. Now it's time for our news review. The FT takes a look at concerns from UK employers who have appealed for urgent clarity on the status of EU nationals post-Brexit. Many fear the UK could be heading for a skills shortage as the number of EU citizens seeking work has dipped sharply.
Meanwhile, The Guardian leads with the UK Prime Minister Theresa May, who's come under fire for counting foreign students as part of the government's immigration target, when official figures revealed that less than or fewer than 5,000 remain after their visa expires.
The Independent focuses on the falling pound and how travellers are now receiving less than €1 at some airport money exchange providers. Sterling this week fell to a fresh 8-year low.
The Guardian financial pages report the UK government has given the go-ahead for the first trials of convoys of semi-automated lorries, trucks on UK highways. Up to 3 wirelessly connected lorries will travel in convoy with a driver in each cab ready to take control if needed.
And finally, in the Gulf news, a former CIA agent is planning to purchase a controlling stake in Twitter so she can ban US President Donald Trump from the platform. Valerie Plame Wilson has raised $27,000 so far towards her goal, but she'll need a further $1 billion to worry Mr. Trump anytime soon.
Well, you know, I'm sure there are people out there who would quite like to buy Twitter to stop us from tweeting, but we won't go into that. With us is Joel Cavazzo, who's Managing Director with FTI Consulting, a former Director of Communications for the African Development Bank. Joel, really good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Ben.
Really looking forward to getting your thoughts on these various stories. So if we start with the Financial Times, this is largely being attributed as net migration falls in the UK to the Brexit effect.
Yes. In many ways, Ben, this, some would say, is the week in which the Brexit chickens are coming home to roost. So, you know, in a lot of the stories that we're looking at this morning. I mean, in this particular one, they're talking about the Financial Times, my old newspaper, about the status. There is a question about, you know, what is the status of EU workers? Are they here permanently? Will they get their rights observed? And because of that uncertainty, many have decided to leave. So you find that, you know, from 8 European countries, 59% have sort of decided to leave and see either go back home or go to other countries. Now, this has an effect.
That's right, on business. Business must
has
be
an
incredibly
effect.
concerned.
They're very, because of course the business is very concerned because they're, especially in the services, the UK is very much a services economy, and therefore, you know, those people that work in services, you know, be it the restaurants and many other services, they can no longer get sort of staff to be working in those businesses. So that's why employers are concerned.
But this will benefit some other countries, won't it? Because there was a concern at one stage that because people could earn more in the UK, there was a brain drain and a skills shortage of very talented people leaving their home countries to come to the UK. So in a way, this perhaps benefits those countries who are going to get some of their talent back.
Well, it depends where you're sitting. If you're in those countries, then that's fine. Your sort of citizens are coming home and they can sort of take on those roles. However, if you're a farmer in the United Kingdom and you rely on seasonal workers, then you're being hit. And what's going to happen to all those crops that need harvesting?
All right, so the next one is Prime Minister under fire, a student visa myth exposed. Now, this is part of the whole immigration debate, and it's going back several years, all to do with the UK government trying to reduce immigration.
Absolutely. Again, this is, within the context of the whole sort of Brexit subject. But I've always thought it's a crazy idea to include students as part of immigrants. And for the first time, we actually have clear figures that show how ridiculous that is. There was an estimate of about 100,000 that there were 100,000 students were those that overstayed after their courses and sort of seeped into the system and became illegal immigrants. Figures now show that it's actually less than 5,000. In actual fact, it was 4,600. So a factor of 95%. So somehow Theresa May and her government continuing to use this as a figure about counting these people as part of the immigration to the United Kingdom looks completely ridiculous.
But it's such an important figure to get right, because this was a key issue in Brexit, as you say, and a lot of people still talk about concerns about immigration, and if the figures are being overblown, it has real implications.
The debate was actually, on both sides, full of myths. You said what you wanted to say so that you could get your point across. Now, some of that did not bear any reality, in fact, and that is what we're seeing on this particular issue, that when it comes to students, I'm afraid those figures just don't hold up.
Joel, I want to talk money.
Yeah.
And in particular,
holidays.
Sterling, euro.
Yeah.
If you're going from the UK to the Eurozone, it's getting more and more expensive.
I tell you something, I mean, those people were sort of going on holiday in the UK and most of Europe. We're coming to the end of the holiday season, so just as well that sterling is sort of, it's at this stage that sterling has fallen to this 8-year low. But again, this uncertainty has come about amidst the fact that there's uncertainty in the UK, whereas the wider European Union economy seems to be sort of still fairly strong, and that's what's caused the fall in sterling. So, of course, if you're coming from the UK, so things are much more expensive.
But tourism's on the up here, because coming the other way, it's quite nice to be here.
So, again, it's one of these things whereby, if you're, receiving those tourists, fine, thank you very much, I'll have some of that. But if you're the holidaymaker going abroad, going to any of our European countries, I'm afraid it's more expensive.
But also, the exporters within the Eurozone will be feeling the pressure from the stronger euro, won't they? Because it makes their products less competitive to foreign buyers, especially if they're trying to export to the UK. And that'll be very much in the minds, I'm sure, of the ECB President Mario Draghi at the gathering of world bankers in Jackson Hole. I think we're expecting to hear from him a little bit later today.
Yes, that's happening over this weekend. And yes, I think Mario Draghi will be saying something, or should be saying something about it. But, as I said, for the UK, they think this is an opportunity.
Well, AI, driverless cars, driverless trucks. So motorway trials for driverless trucks get the go-ahead.
Yeah.
This is big.
It is. Things have been sort of moving this way. We've talked very much more about the cars rather than trucks. However, now we're in this situation whereby it seems as if we're going to start the trials for the driverless truck or semi-driverless, because, there will be a driver there to take the reins should anything happen. And there is a view that these trucks, there's what are called semi-automated driverless trucks, are going to do something called platooning, whereby there's a whole convoy, but the front truck is one that controls the others. And the view is that actually this saves on fuel, saves on the environmental degradation. However, concerns about safety.
Not just safety, but jobs as well, because looking into the future. But it could revolutionise the industry, because truck drivers have to sleep, they have to take breaks. These trucks could just keep on going.
Absolutely. And of course, then that means there'll be less, the need for drivers will fall sharply, I am sure, but we are all at the mercy of technology these days.
Right.
Well, let's take you on to the Gulf news. Former US spy trying to ban Trump from Twitter, President Trump Twitter, by crowdfunding enough to buy out the site. It's one way of doing things, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love this one because, of course, it gives us our weekly fix of, the Donald Trump news in some way. And this time it is someone actually trying to buy him out of Twitter. Look, the former spy, she has raised $27,000. she actually realizes that, through crowdfunding, and she actually realizes that she needs more than $1 billion to at least take a controlling stake, not even buying the whole of Twitter, but at least take a controlling stake. Now, who says just because you have a controlling stake that means that President Trump can't use Twitter? I mean, the free market doesn't tend to work like that. But what I thought was particularly interesting was the fact that the White House press spokesman said, actually made a statement about this, as if it was something that was worth even mentioning.
I think it's a little bit of wishful thinking somehow.
A traditional statement, not a statement on Twitter.
Absolutely.
Joel, really good to see you. Thank you very much. Joel Cabazo there joining us to go through the papers.
We'll see you soon. You're watching BBC World News.